go.
The Guaranteed Rate Elite at Pickwick Lake is sponsored by Ranger Boats, Yamaha, Toyota, and by Berkeley.
Bassmaster Elite Series, day number 3 here at Pickwick Lake. And on Bassmaster Live, we love tour de force displays of fishing awesomeness, but we don't like runaways. No, we don't necessarily like runaways, and I don't think we've got anything like that in progress right now. It is good, tight competition. At the top of that leaderboard, second place to start the day. Bill Lowen has occupied the top spot for a good long time, but Hank Cherry streaking today. Absolutely. Corey Johnston as well, and Tyler Rivette, man. Johnston and Rivette coming from outside the top 10 to be big time difference makers on this day number 3, and plenty more changes to come as we welcome in our colleagues, Dave and Davey. Dave Mercer and Davey Heighton. Guys, you know, I know you're keeping your eyes on the big changes and the subtle ones as well. Dave, what's the big one that you're seeing so far?
Davey, I mean, we kind of talked about it before, you know, this day started, and it's kind of, I'm wondering if Davey has to stick with Kobe Krieger. I mean, because the last time we were here a decade ago, guys, I remember walking down the dock and everybody said to me, oh yeah, but the dam, it always peters out. Davey, you got to stick with Kobe, no?
Yeah, you know, absolutely. I'm pulling for the tournament to be one up there. You know, it's sentimental to me, that tail race, but boy, he is struggling today, and actually has spent more time here close to McFarland Park than he has up there at the tail race. He just went back up there a few minutes ago, though.
Davey, real quick, we're looking at almost half of our leaders are fishing downstream from the Trace Bridge, which really a lot of the regional tournaments, there have not been that many big stringers caught down there for multiple days. Does it surprise you, and is it a factor of possibly just more stable water on that lower end?
Well, Z, I think you're exactly right with more stable water, but here's one thing that we often don't talk about or we don't think about. These anglers are great. You and I, we've been getting the information that, hey, the Alabama Bass Trail, a lot of fish were caught around Coger Island, but these guys just went fishing here with no information, and obviously there's bass to be caught west of here.
Well, I want to thank the whole crew over at the Marathon Studios, but you know what time it is, Davey? It's time for our Toyota Midday Report here at Lakeside. I mean, we're seeing the action going down all day long, but it is the Toyota Midday Report, and let's have a look at what's been going down on this historic fishery. Pickwick, the guy who's had the lead since day number 1, Kobe Krieger, and the question is, can Kobe hold on?
Well, the one thing he said this morning is, I'm all in from McFarland Park to the tail race. I'll be practicing if I go down from there, so we're going to find out if it can hold up. I do like the fact that he said he was all in, but man, it isn't good where he's been able to just pick up keepers along the shoreline here close to McFarland Park. The current has changed. Things are much different today. We saw Scott Martin start close to here. He left really early. So Kobe Krieger is all in about 2 miles of Pickwick. But, man, it is slow for him this morning.
Big bites have made big differences in this tournament. And Corey Johnston, for once again, the second tournament in a row, a Canadian making major noise on our leaderboard.
Yeah, Dave, Corey got off to a great start this morning. He's another angler that had a good practice. He was so excited about going, catching a lot of big fish in his practice period. The water coming up and all the current really changed things up. But he is fishing again today, and you might see bigger and better things coming each and every day from Corey Johnston today and tomorrow.
Well, here's a guy who has literally fished by the seat of his pants from the beginning of this tournament, done all his damage early. I mean, if this was a 2-hour derby, there is no question who would be winning this tournament.
He's obviously had a great starting spot, and very surprising that his starting spot has held up with the water falling like it has yesterday and today, the current changing, but this spot for Brandon Polnick just keeps reloading. He's fishing a Rapala BX Brat 6, red primarily, switched up the colors just a little bit. We've seen him flip and do a few other things, but you're right, this starting spot, cranking, no matter what the current is, it's been great for Brandon Palnick.
Can we just give him a look?
It's happened early and often
BX
for him
Brat.
day after day, but yet to put something together in the afternoon. But when they're eating it like that, I mean, who cares about the afternoon when your morning starts like that?
Yeah, when you know you've got it dialed in, when you see there's another fish that you don't see the bait at all. You know you've got everything dialed in when you see the bait just totally down in those fish's mouth like that.
When all you see is line coming out of their mouth, life is good. But here's a guy whose life is always good. Chad Pipkins has been in this tournament since day number one, had a great, and actually gave BP a little love the other day, said he might have helped him out a little bit in this, but it's paying off.
Yeah, it is, and he's one of the few anglers that's basically been able to sit on one waypoint, moving around just a little bit. He was talking about how his 360 was helping him this morning, but he has basically lived on one hole. We heard Corey Johnson say he had a good practice there. And we see this with a couple anglers. Actually, where they found those fish in practice, even though the water came up, depending on which day of practice they located these fish, the water coming up anywhere 4, 5, maybe 6 feet, those fish have stayed in place.
Sometimes a loss can be everything, and one of the interesting things he said to me on day number one, he went to that spot and in the first 2 hours, never really had much, but lost one big fish, and that one big fish gave him the confidence to stay there and obviously grind his way to a great spot in this event. And it'll be interesting to see if he can keep it together for another 2 days on this rare, beginning of the week, last 2 days of this tournament. But here's a guy, every time you come here to Moving Water, and every time you come to a tournament where you're going to have to fish, literally the moment in front of you, Steve Kennedy is a guy you got to watch out for.
So 10 years ago when I fished up there below the Wilson Dam, Steve Kennedy was around in the area all 4 days. And I could tell Steve Kennedy's got a lot of history here up on that upper end especially. Very surprised that he didn't start there on day one. To be quite honest with you, he saved his day when he did go up there late in the day on day one. Had he started there, he might be leading this event right now, but Steve Kennedy is certainly someone you better keep an eye on. I think he's probably got the best opportunity of any angler if he just stays above the bridge here at McFarland.
He said on stage yesterday, he's like, I don't know what makes me good at this. So I'm going to ask you, Davey, what makes him good at this?
Well, he just understands. You see him right there up against a bluff wall. He understands the current so well, whether it's right in the tail race or on one of these bluff walls.
Speaking of understanding, the river rat himself, Bill Lowen, you watch bass fishing, and you can't help but cheer for this guy to get a title here this week.
So when I think of Bill Lowen this week, you and I talked about it, Zona and I talked about it. He was not very positive about this event, and normally he is. He did not have a good practice, but what we talked about is very likely that someone could win this event that doesn't think they're going to even catch a limit. And Bill Lowen has done well each and every day, had over 20 pounds first and second day. Today he's well on his way. He's got about 15 or 16 pounds with a lot of fishing time to go.
Bill Lowen, obviously an 11-time Classic qualifier. The elite title has eluded him. He's been so close so many times in the past, but watching the way he fishes, there's no shocker that he's in the mix here this week, is there, Davey?
It's not, but man, there are some other guys that did exactly what Bill Lowen did, but just didn't catch the fish. It's really amazing.
The startling thing about this tournament, when you look at how good these guys are doing, and I hate to harp on it, but it is shocking the number of favorites coming into this event, outside of even Justin Atkins, who obviously I think had close to 50% of the people pick him in fantasy fishing, but Scott Canterbury, Gerald Swindle, so many that you would have thought. Why do you think it didn't bode well for the Alabama anglers, or many of the favorites anyway?
I'm just getting to know Justin Atkins a little bit. I've certainly heard a lot about him, and he's a great fisherman, and he was a big favorite here. But I've been in those situations. It's your home lake. It's a big body of water. There's so many things that you want to do that you try to do a lot of them, and before you know it, it's time to weigh in. It can happen to anyone. This is a gigantic fishery that fish can be caught, obviously, from one end to the other. We've seen that, and that's what happens to some of the anglers. They get caught up in trying to do a little too much and run around a little too much, and then all of a sudden it's time to weigh in.
But he was there. There aren't many spots like this, are there? This is crazy.
All week we've heard anglers talk about making adjustments, changing with the fish. Are they big adjustments, Davey? How big are the movements these fish are making?
In this current, I don't think they move very far at all. These fish are just looking for seams. They want to be close to hard current. This is a perfect example right there with Kobe Krieger and Steve Kennedy. You see they are very close to super strong current, but just barely out of it. And that's exactly what those fish want to do. So this morning I was on the dock and Kobe Krieger was talking to someone over on the other side of the dock and said, and I don't see how the guys fish this current without spot lock like we have now. I was standing there. He didn't even know I was behind him. It was dark. I said, it was very difficult, man. There's a lot going on there and all that current and trying to hold a trolling motor. But with spot lock, it makes it much, much easier.
That is one of the major points. I mean, like you said, spotlight, when you think about it, really, I did not realize how close I was standing to greatness. You did all this without spotlock. Tell me how much time did you burn in that tournament? Really just repositioning and holding yourself. It had to be impossible.
So one of the biggest keys, in my opinion, with spotlock is when you catch a fish, what happens to your boat without spotlock? Yeah. You drift in this current. Oftentimes you could drift, and I'm not exaggerating, 300, 400, 500 yards and then have to start up the big engine and get back up there. So that was one of the big things. Obviously, it's just a lot of work mentally and physically while you're fishing, but when you're landing a fish and then when you're culling fish, the boat can move several hundred yards. It really burns a lot of your fishing time.
Kobe said on stage that some of the water down below might be getting clear, but his water's getting dirtier, and now we keep hearing there's less flow coming through there. Supposed to have some rain tomorrow. Is that going to come quick enough to help them, or is that days away from helping them?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have enough. They're calling for rain to start about mid-morning. It takes, what we had happen here, basically an uncommon downpour of several inches of rain to really affect that current up there. I don't think it's going to. It might just stabilize a little better because it's been falling and slowing down a little bit this morning. I know that's hard to believe, but if you look at that picture of Kobe there, 2 days ago, that picture was quite different. A lot more water was coming across those rocks.
Let's join Scott Martin. Everybody wants to see how Scott Martin's doing.
Wow.
Left the dock this morning in third place and did not spend as much time close to takeoff, it seemed to me, Davey, did he?
No, he didn't. And I've been around Scott all 3 mornings now, and this morning I noticed when I pulled out right after he did, I was like, wow, this current's different. And after about 5 minutes of fishing, Scott said to me, this current's a lot different. It has been the last few days, and it certainly is. But still a lot of fish around here. But that strong current where Scott's been starting just positions those fish where he was able, he figured them out the first day, and he was able to catch them for 2 days.
I left the rain on the lake, and when I tell you, literally there was not one single spot I could get on. Everybody is on everything. The word is out. So I made a big loop, came back up and fished some new water that looked good on the map. Didn't catch much there at all. And I'm gonna make a pass down this little wall. I'm gonna get some fuel, because we might have to run around a little bit today just to be able to get on. If I can get on a couple of those places or find a fresh batch of fish, I'll be fine. I found a couple new schools every day anyways, but it is a little, I kind of expected there'd be a lot more traffic today on those spots. I mean, these guys are good. They find it all. So you only need a couple good spots to catch 20 pounds, that's for sure. So I'm not really worried about it. Just have to fish smart,
So where we caught him, came back to where we caught him this morning, thinking, giving him a break, maybe there'd be a few show up. But so far, they have not wanted to. They're still absent. I'm gonna.
Two anglers that have done all of their damage in the morning, or a lot of it anyways. Is what we're seeing here the fact that they've just started a little slower than we've seen the first 2 days? Is that just directly related to the current?
Yeah, it certainly is with Scott here, but gosh, when he's been leaving here, especially yesterday, he caught a lot of fish, and for him to go way downstream and then loop back and come back up and have no more fish in his live well than he does at this point is very surprising to me, and I'm sure it is to him. I mean, he's got to be shocked right now. I didn't hear him say the exact numbers. I think I heard Zona say earlier that Scott told him he'd caught like 30 or 40 fish. So a very, very different day for him today. But a lot of time to fish. You keep moving. You keep putting yourself in those right places for those fish when they do set up to feed, and things can change in a hurry.
If you don't think it was shocking for him, you heard him say he might need to get some gas. So, I mean, he definitely wasn't planning on doing a lot of running. But let's check out Bill Lowen. Bill Lowen, everybody wanting to know what's going on with Bill Lowen. And Bill Lowen, man, his family was remarkably calm this morning. And that made me think, oh, boy, maybe that, you know what I mean? Because I love their passion. I love their support. But I think they kind of feel like this could be his time.
Well, I wouldn't bet against him, and he's long overdue for a win. He's had several very close calls, and then, like we talked about a little bit yesterday, just one of the guys that you expect to see fishing on day 3 like he is here today, but not just fishing today, but with the lead and doing what he loves to do. When you see someone in position to win, or you think they have a chance to win, and then you see someone that's doing what they love to do, a flipping stick in his hand, a jig on the end of his line, look out for him to be around and be someone you're going to have to outfish tomorrow.
How different is that as a competitor?
Okay. Well, tear my trolling motor off. The update is don't crash into docks like that. It is about 10:15. We got a limit already this morning. Caught a limit pretty quick, just missing those big ones like we had yesterday. I think I got about 15 pounds. Right now we're just focusing, keeping our head down, trying to get a big bite. Like I said, we've had quite a few bites this morning, just have not got that big bite yet, but the day's still long. We're just going to keep grinding. I had a lot of bites on some docks yesterday. Caught one good one, but I didn't fish them very long, so I'm literally fishing right there on that island, so I just jumped over here and just trying to make something happen. I know there's a pile of fish here, and I know they've slid to that island, so there's no reason they shouldn't have slid to these docks as well. So that's why we're here trying it. So stick with us. We got to get some big bites, and we ain't going to quit till it's time to go.
Five fish in the box with nothing to do but chase down a big bite all day makes Dollar Bill very scary, Davey.
Absolutely. He's just where he was yesterday, maybe a little ahead, absent one or two bigger bites, but a lot of fishing time left. I really think that the wind is kind of turned coming out of the southeast maybe, and the largemouth bite could certainly pick up for Bill Lowen and some of the other anglers.
Bill Lowen, the question is, is this the time? Is it time for Dollar Bill? Is it finally going to happen? Right now he's on top of the leaderboard, but look out right behind him. Our reigning classic champion, Hank Cherry, and the crazy insider story is Tyler Rivette said on day 1, Hank Cherry gave him a little tip. Well, that might not be a good tip by the end of this come Hank Cherry, because they're sitting in 1, 2, and 3. We'll follow the action all day long on Bass Live right here from the shores of Florence, Alabama.
Your time on the water is precious. You return season after season to make unforgettable memories, fight a few fish, reconnect with friends, and recenter yourself. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters stay with Yamaha for the long run, for life. They know reliability starts here.
Five fish for 22 pounds even.